Okay, hello, welcome to workout class. We're going to start today with our TheraBand underneath the neck of the oof. See here. And we're going to start with hand weights on either side. Have your ball and have a couple of yoga blocks available to you. Let's start by sitting on the big end of the oof in a supported squat position. So often, if I'm teaching online, or if I just need a break from sitting in a chair, this is a nice break, feels really good on the SI joint, the lower back, and we need to spend more time in this position. So if you can't get down and just hold yourself up, so some of us can just be here, and this is ideal, this is even better than sitting on the end of the oof, but I know a lot of people can't get that low and need more support. So sitting on a low stool, or sitting on your ooh right there can really be a nice modified version of that. Obviously, a lot less work if you're sitting on the ooh than it is if you're just in a low squat position. So this is more of a resting position than a working position. Walk the feet forward, shimmy down to the end of your ooh, lay on your back, and often the hair things need to move. You want to make sure the back of your skull is nice and flat on the floor and you're looking straight up at the ceiling. So we want to make sure the chin isn't tilted way up and the chin isn't smashing way down into the throat either. And then we'll just take a few breaths here to settle in. Usually the first thing I feel here is the back of my pelvis and the muscles around the sacrum relaxing and releasing any gripping tension. Which is quite nice. Often feel the belly gurgle a little bit and release any tension there. And your head is below your pelvis. So that helps the spine decompress from the effects of gravity. And all of those forces on the discs and the vertebra are released here in a big way. See if you can find a little more length through the abdomen by letting your tailbone feel nice and heavy here. And then we'll open the arms up to a high cactus position on the floor. Just clear your space if you've got things in the way, just so you can move your arms around. And take some deep, smooth breaths here. And just notice what's moving when you breathe, what's not moving when you breathe. So if your belly is just very tight as you breathe, and all the breath is coming up into your chest, that was my first breath, then you might be in a bit of a stress state or a bit of a fight or flight state or a sympathetic system state. So we want ultimately to see the belly move, the belly relax as we breathe. Now, often what I see is the belly kind of push up in this kind of bowed out way. And you see the back tighten up. So when I see people breathe like this, I know that they're not breathing from the rib cage. So we want the ribs and the belly to move and have this whole diaphragm area expand as we inhale. Go from a high cactus into a low cactus, just breathing easily and smoothly. And then let's see if we can bring the feet closer together or completely together. So we just did high cactus to low cactus movements. Let's pick up that TheraBand. Holding on to the TheraBand where you feel the tension, where you have a little tension right here so that you can get the shoulders away from the ears, the elbows tuck in. I always like to wrap the TheraBand around the hand so that my hand isn't working so hard and it's more the arm working. Reach the arms up. Feel the ribs drop down and in. Reach the arms up. Now, what I really like about this one is that not only are we reaching the arms up, but we want to feel the shoulders pulled down and away from the ears. So it should feel not only like arm work is happening, but you feel the shoulder blades moving down on your back. So often what I see here is people are moving their arms up and down, but can you see how disconnected my shoulders are to my body? They're just kind of staying up and high. So we're looking for this pressing forward and the movement of the shoulders down and away from the neck. And then we want to keep that as the arms come in. So we don't want to come back to that disconnected state. We want to maintain that down and in. And then we really start to feel some work. I feel work in the low belly. I feel work of the shoulders having to maintain down and back. And that has gotten a little weak on my body, so I'm feeling that in a big way. I'm going to open that up and just hold that and breathe, because that feels very, very weak. Press your elbows into the band a little bit, you'll feel even more. You can do small circles here. We'll bend the elbows in a little and push. Bend the elbows and push. I'm going to open that a little and bring it up and in. Yep, feeling that. Open it a little and bring it up and in. Let's segue to the legs. So hands on ribs, elbows down, shoulders down. Pick one foot off the floor, toe ball heel, and bring it back down, toe ball heel. Switch. And the goal here is not just to swing the leg up. Often I just see people like fling their leg up. The goal here is to articulate the foot as you lift it and as you lower it. And notice what and where you lose connection and stability as you do this. So peeling it up. Does the body wobble on the ooh? Set it down, peel the other leg up. And it should improve as you do this, as you continue. So we want to do enough that we do feel the body get better at it. That's where people will ask, how many reps? Well, you only do 4, chances are you will not improve. That's the answer. Find a number where you feel like, okay, things are working, things are progressing. Now I feel like lifting my left leg and staying connected to my right is a little harder today. So I'm going to do multiple reps of lifting and lowering the left leg. Keep the shoulders down your back. Then lift that leg up to stay. Lift the other leg up to stay. Lower, lower, lift, lift, lower, lower, lift, lift. Now this is pulling just a little bit on my neck. Not so much that it's lifting my head off the floor. And I'm really having to use my core here. Go in on just one leg. So I chose this leg because something in my back was clicking as I was lifting and lowering this leg. When I recruited my upper abs more, and I had to find my glutes more. That was the secret. And here's how you find that. Don't come as high. Stay low. Do like little floats up and down. And my butt has to work more to support that leg. Oh, it's a ton of belly work too. Take a clearing breath when and if you need it, check in with your head, and then do your little floats on the other side. This one is much harder than it looks. Both feet down. Ooh, that's a toughie. Very simple piece. Great homework. Great, great homework. Okay, so let's add the arms and legs together. So you can reach up with your band. Just one wrap should suffice. And let's check in with balance. Toe ball heel and back up. Toe ball heel and back up. So now you're just putting these two movements together. See if you can float your head up. And that's how you start from a very simple movement, which is just the arms, to just the legs, to the legs up, just the legs, adding the arms, and then putting it all together, okay? Let's roll off the ooh to one side and just take a moment, relax the back. Press yourself up to sitting. Just take a moment. Let's do a few Sufi rolls, and that's where you just keep your back nice and straight. You just lean forward over your cross legs and back. And then reverse the direction. Okay, so take the hairband off to the side. Scoot your ooh back, feet flat, contract back so that your middle back is supported by the ooh. Hands behind the head. Let's actually take the block, take your ball, put it right in the middle of your inner thighs. Just so you have something to squeeze and connect, and you feel this wrapping of the muscle around the legs. Now, you don't want that to cause excessive tucking or gripping in the pelvis, so keep the pelvis stable and a little more neutral. Feel more inner thighs, feel more outer thighs, less crunching under the butt, if you know what I mean. Okay, spine is in the center of the groove. And I usually put both hands here just to make sure it's really centered. Spine is in the groove. Then I find the head in the hands, tailbone a little more neutral, head pressing back. Find the flare, just touch it with your knuckles. I'm just going to touch it with the knuckles and then lift. Really tempting to squeeze the glutes too much. Finding more of a neutral pelvis, finding more low belly and inner thigh rather than cramming it in your butt. That was the wrong sentence. Cramming it, don't cram it in your butt. That's never a good thing. Never cram anything in your butt. It's just the bottom line. That's the takeaway from today's class. Moving on. Inhale back, exhale up. Oh, only I would say something that ridiculous. Okay, two more. One more. Now, what I was noticing as I was going back, I was kind of shifting off my center to the left. So I'm going to do a few more, but I'm going to keep my left hand on my left ribs, and I'm going to come back and come forward. I'm just going to really be strict about staying on my center. How did I discover I was doing that? I'm facing a mirror. And so I was going back, I noticed my head was shifting away from the center line of the ball. I was shifting to my left because I could see my head going to more in line with my left leg than with the center of the ball. So it can be very helpful to face the mirror in your home work and see, am I really working on my center? Is my midline engaged and symmetrical? Now I'm going to lift the butt a little and pulse the ball. And just connect here, connect here. Lower the butt back down. Okay, hold on to your, you come up, put the ball between your ankles, roll back. Bring the oof underneath me a little bit more. There we go. So I can go back a little further, stretch the belly and the chest open a little more. Keep that engagement on the ball, lift the head and the chest, curl forward. Really feeling that deep belly work. Don't come off your Uber, it's gonna pop away from you. So you go back, you're looking at the ceiling, contracting forward, keep the head in line with your body. See how my head wants to creep forward like that? It looks horrible. I have to really work to keep the head back, but my contraction hasn't changed. It's just a lot harder. Stretch back, come up, belly, 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 inner thigh, inner thigh, inner thigh, inner thigh, and back down. You should feel a lot of quads. Quads are working. These guys are on fire. Now reach the arms forward, come all the way up to sitting. Stretch forward over your legs, pulse. Last set. Roll back slowly. This time move the oob out of your way. Curling the tailbone under. Stretch all the way out on the floor. Flex the feet. Lift the arms. Peeling up. Point the toes. Contract forward. Pulse. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Rolling back slowly. Press the arms down by your side on a full breath. Hold on to your mat. Bring the ball in. Adjust it so it's between your feet. Bring the legs to tabletop. Extend the legs up to ceiling. Flex and point. Flex and point. Flex and point. Flex and point. Take the legs over to one side and center. Over to the other side, tipping to one hip and center. Now, take your arms out wider so that you can get more of the back of the arm going. Turn the legs out. Flex the feet, go to one side. Point center. Flex to the one side. Point center. Keep the ribs on the floor. Bend the knees and come in. Press your feet down nice and wide on the mat. Go up and over to one side in a twist. And then up and over to the other side. I'm just holding onto the ball so it doesn't get away from me, because I'm going to add it under the pelvis on the next one. And center. Take the ball between your thighs, tuck the knees to the chest, rock yourself up, reach for your oof. Put the oof at your feet. I rock back and then pop my feet up onto the end of the oof. Ball is still between your thighs. Arms are down by your side. And I really like the hand weights here under my hands so that I can feel it. I don't know, it's just something to press into. I feel like it gives me a little bit more engagement. Squeeze the ball, lift the pelvis about halfway up, not crazy high. You could also put the weights in your hands and press the back of the arm down. You're going to arch the back and curl. Arch, release the squeeze on the ball a little, and then curl. Arch and curl. Now, support the arms just off the floor. Arch and curl. Arch and curl. Hold the curl. Pulse the ball. And roll the spine back down. Now take your arms out to a T, bring them up and over the chest, squeeze them together, curl the pelvis, lift the pelvis just off the floor. Arch and curl. Feel the middle of your back pressing into the floor above the waist. Try to press the shoulders away from the floor. So it's less about the arms now, it's more about the core. Roll the spine down and return the arms to the floor. Now, press your hand weights down using the baby finger side. Keep the arms really stable. Reach one leg out. The other foot is going to lift your hips up off the floor. Set it down. Up. Set it down. So we're playing with some variations here using hand weights, oof, and ball. And we're targeting inner thighs with this. Midline. Deep front line. Back down. Both feet down. Lift. Squeeze. Lower, release the squeeze. We'll press those arms down as you lift the hips. 3 more. And 2. And 1. Hold, pulse the ball. And roll the spine back down. Set the hand weights down. Woo! Your inner thighs should be on fire. Oh, little side to side release there. Hello, inner thighs. All right, feet are nice and wide. Let the knees wave in. Swing the heels in, let the knees wave out, and then bring the feet together for a little butterfly stretch there. I actually take my hand weights, tuck them right under my femurs, because that just feels like it's still a nice stretch, but there's a little support there so that the femur head doesn't push really far forward into the socket. And then I'm going to curl. I'll feel that nice stretch and tilt. So just moving the pelvis this way and this way. And this way. And this way. Now keep the tuck, but push one hip away from you, pull the other one towards you. and switch, and switch, and switch, and center. Curl the pelvis a little higher, move the hand weights out of the way, and then reach the tailbone back down. Stretch the legs out wide off your mat. Open the arms up so you're in this big X shape. And then push one hip up and forward, other hip up and forward. That feels so good to me. That is always very, very tight right there. Feels like a nice stretch. Internally rotate that heel and leg as you push. And then it externally rotates. You internally rotate. And alternating side to side, just finding lots of length here in your waist. And then rest. Bend one knee, roll yourself over. Now, we're going to need both hand weights at the front of the mat. Your oov, you're going to flip it over so it's upside down. And the small end is pointed towards you. So hair up and out of the way is always good for this one. Position yourself so that your pelvis is on the neck. And the peak of the oov is right at the point at the center of your chest, really. It's like right where that, the top of your ribs meet. And then stretch your arms out. Hands are on the hand weights. You're going to shrug the shoulders and draw the shoulders down your back, lift your head. So we're just feeling this elevation of the shoulders as the head comes down. Depression of the shoulders as the head lifts up. And I'm rolling to my fingertips. Rolling to the heel of the hand. Rolling to the fingertips. Now, look down. And as you go down, look up. That's going to feel very different. Look down. Look up. Look down. Now stay here. Look up. Bring your hand weights in a little closer so they're more here and your elbows are bent. See if you can lift up a little higher. Stretching more of your abdomen. If extension is not something you're supposed to be doing, you can skip this one and bring the elbows back down. So now the hand weights stay in the same position. You feel the elbows touch and then straighten. Getting a deeper back bend. Really stretching out the belly here. Try to lengthen the legs out behind you. And you can even do a little side-to-side pelvic wobble if that feels okay on the back. Play with your position if you want to go more at an angle. And then you can roll further down. Roll up. You can push with one arm, then push with the other arm. Get a little lateral movement in the rib cage. Come back down, stack your arms, rest your forehead on your arms. Just relax the back. Push the oov further down underneath you. Legs wider. You might even want to bend the knees like a frog. It's going to feel like it's more in your gut now. Just let the body kind of drape over the oov. Press the pelvis down. And then let's lift up, come up onto the elbows and the hands. So try to press the hips straight down into the oov. And again, lifting up. You can always reach your arms a little further out if that's too much extension. Elbows down. Elbows up. And we're just targeting the middle back here. And down. And up. Full breath. Full breath. Very simple. Middle back extension. Bring one hand in, the other hand in, lift up a little higher, round your back. Bring the hands in, bring your knees closer together, feet, knees, and press back into a child's pose. So one thing I tend to see a lot is people come into child's pose and it's like their hands and shoulders just kind of curl up into these little like lumps. Open up your arms wider than your shoulders. Keep your arms straight, shoulders down your back, away from your neck, and rest your head. And if your head is really hanging low, you always, always, always want to give your head support if that is the case. Either a block, which is a nice low setting, is a great position for the neck. And hopefully you can see now how the block is gently pressing the skin of my forehead toward my nose. My heart is actually lengthening forward. Arms are dynamic and straight, not bent. And my tail is reaching back. My feet are staying together and my knees are very close. They're not sprawled apart. So this is what you're looking for in your child's pose. I'm going to stay here for a full minute. Open up those armpits. Stretch the arms long. You want a flatter back rather than a rounder back here. Always trying to reach your heart further forward in your child's pose. A lot of really good things here for your body. And then come forward onto hands and knees. Give yourself an arch and a curl. Take one leg out to the side and arch and curl. Foot is flexed with the instep on the floor, or foot is down like this. Where you can see my foot better. And then you're going to lean back a little and lean forward. And we're getting into the cobweb of the groin. So for a lot of people, this is very, very tight. If that's not you, you lucky devil. I'm feeling this right away today. Now, how does it feel if you engage your quadriceps and really think of pulling the kneecap up? Bring that leg in slowly. Take the other leg out. My support leg is slightly out to the side. It's not directly underneath me. And that will contribute to the stretch. Watch the head here. I see a lot of this. A head here is fine. Head here is great. But a head here is not great. Do you see how horrible that looks? Like my head is just collapsed. So keep supporting the weight of your head through this piece. Bring that knee down. Shift over to one hip. Flip your oov right side up. Now, you're going to put your hip in the saddle. Stretch top leg long. This arm outside of the forearm goes on the ball so you can rest your head on your arm. This arm is on your side body, so you're in a straight line. Press down into your arm to lift up. Look towards your foot. And rolling back down, look towards your armpit. Keep this arm really reaching down your leg. Lift up, look, feel the stretch here. As you come down, I feel the stretch here. Little balance work happening. Now, you could add a hand weight here. You could add 2. Where's the other one? Now stay here. Play with your head position. Where do you feel a stretch? Where do you feel work having to manage the head? Press the head back, keep it more in line with the body. I'm going to pause right here, lift my leg up. Just my head. Lift this arm up. My hand is not resting on the floor. I'm going to bring this leg forward. Stretch it back. Reach it forward. Stretch it back. Set it down and come back up. And set your hands down. Let's go to the other side. Lots of oblique work there. A lot of sling work. We're focusing on progress, not perfection. All right, so just starting here. See how your neck feels, doesn't need adjusting. Just always look for your chin in alignment with your front of your throat, right? Is it a lot of times what I see is I see heads that look like this as you're laying down. So there's like a twist in the neck, and this side definitely feels tighter. Just laying here on this side, it's like, oh, there's already tighter, a tighter sensation on this side laying down. Lifting the head first, pressing into the ball, rolling up, look toward the leg. And this head position is just practical, right? We're just following the movement of the body. Now I'm feeling a lot of my neck here, so I'm just going to stay here and work through some of those sensations. A lot of it has to do with this shoulder. And then I'm going to put a weight in each hand. Coming up. And coming down. On the side, and just adding some neck movements here. Having to manage the weight of my head in space, leaning the head back a little more. That's a good thing. I'm going to treat the head like any other limb, like the leg, like the arm. Oh, this side is so much tighter. Whew. Just laying here is a huge stretch. So I'm going to lay here and smooth this arm. As I come up, I lift this arm all the way up. And then bring it down. Lift this leg up. I'm going to do this leg piece on this side with my head down. That actually feels harder to find more length on the side of my neck rather than to lift it on this side. And then find a different arm position. Just making my arm hold the weight here. It's a lot of work. And I'm just going to hold the arm and the leg here. Ooh, that's hard. See, is it better, worse with a pointed foot? Harder. That's working more. That's good. Turn the head a little. Lift the head now. Manage the weight of the head. And then come up. Okay. So that was one side compared to the other. I didn't treat them identically because they didn't need identical things. So the fitness industry, I think for a lot of times people want to think they're more symmetrical than they are. We are not symmetrical beings. So doing exactly the same thing on either side is not always leading us toward more balance. So if we slow things down and we work more intuitively, we can discover what we feel on each side, and it's not usually the same thing. If we're really, really aware and tuned into our bodies, we notice those asymmetries. We can feel them, and then we can start to develop the education around what is going to balance that side of the body along with this side of the body. So we can bring more interconnectedness to each side. And then you do start to feel more symmetrical. So let's now sit in the saddle. And sometimes for this one, I like to start with a block and then center your oof. Now for the first one, I will usually come back and see if that's the right spot for the block. Can I get my head there first, right? Okay, good. That's a good spot for the block. And then just, can you be in this position? Is this accessible? You could always add a pillow on top of the block. Going back here too far is not. Oh. And this feels like big extension from my middle back today. I'm going to tuck the pelvis just a little, unweight the pelvis. Ooh, that feels like a nice stretch. It's also activating the hamstrings, which I really need. And when I activate those hamstrings, the pressure comes out of that middle back. And then I'm going to bring the pelvis back down. Now this feels a little bit uncomfortable, so I'm scooting down just a little bit. I'm not trying to make it perfectly comfortable. I'm just trying to make it so that it doesn't feel like it's on the edge of, oh, you don't want to be like, oh, that's not good. Okay, now what is my goal here? My goal is to be in a little bit of mid-back extension. My head is in tabletop, parallel to the floor. There's no tension in the neck here. What I'm doing is lifting the pelvis up, and I feel a ton of hamstring work. So I'm unweighting the pelvis. There's no weight on the oof here. And then I'm bringing the tailbone back down. And it's just hamstrings. My feet aren't moving. I'm pulling my butt out of the saddle. I'm getting my mid-back to lengthen. And back down. And it is hamstring work. And if you're not finding it, you're not finding it, right? So you gotta work to feel like that pull of the feet. Hold that then. Push the floor away with your arms, keep the shoulders out of the ears, and then try to really open up the hip crease. Now my shoulders are a little elevated, and part of that is because I'm on the oov, so the angle of my shoulder can't be down as much, and I'm not going to force that. So another choice would be go onto fingertips or come down the oov ever so slightly. You got to move the head until I can integrate a little more into the shoulders. There we go. That looks better. Hold that. Hold. You could also come down onto your elbows and pull the mat apart. It's not going to look perfect for the shoulders. There we go. That's a little better. But weirdly, when I get my shoulders in that position, I feel less hamstrings. So if your shoulders are like looking perfect and down, you're feeling a lot of arm work, you might be taking the work away from where you need it. I really prefer my arms being here simply so I'm using my arms for stability rather than work. And then as I pull up, oof, hamstrings, 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 hamstrings. My arms aren't doing much. They're just keeping me from falling off the oof. Hold back, get those hamstrings to fire. Ooh. And back down. I have weak hamstrings, so this is a very intense one for me. If this is not as hard for you, you could do this a little faster. You can also play with wide position. You're going to feel that slightly differently. You could also hold the end of the oov. Well, no, not really. That doesn't really work. Holding the mat works better. So this is what I would do for wide leg position and coming down. So the wider the legs, the more narrow my arms. The more narrow my legs, the wider my arms, essentially. Just showing you some choices. Start to think of movement as an exploration rather than being in the right position. Don't worry about being in the right position. Worry about where you feel it. You need to feel those hamstrings. Yep, the more I use my arms, the less I use my legs. So I'm actually going to take my arms away from this. Lower the pelvis down. Oh, now I feel a lot more hamstring work when I am on the oob like this as opposed to just being flat on the floor. Because when my back is flat on the floor and I'm lifting my butt, it goes a lot more into the glutes. I can't isolate my hamstrings as well. This, it's like all hamstring, which is great for me because my hamstrings are weaker than my glutes. So I'm going to open the arms back up since I narrowed the legs. Lift, little pulses. Now put one foot on top of your knee, lift your hip, lower and lift. Ooh. Set that foot down, switch to the other foot, lower and lift. Come all the way down. Oh, stretch the legs out. Sitting up. Oh, and just relax there. Come up. Take a few deep breaths. Look over your right shoulder. Look over your left shoulder. Bring the feet underneath you. Press up. And then bend and straighten the legs a few times. Rolling up to standing. And that's where we're going to finish class for today. Thank you for coming.